Hi everyone, I'm Angie, partner and marketing VP at Growing, a women-founded and women-led creative agency. Today I'm thrilled to welcome you to another edition of our newsletter, Women Who Network, Stories of Connection and Success. Networking has been a game changer in my career, but I've realized that even the most brilliant, accomplished women sometimes hesitate when it comes to building connections. Whether it's navigating high-stakes industry events, strengthening existing relationships, or making bold career moves, networking is an evolving skill that we all can refine. At Growing, we believe in the power of community, shared experiences, and lifting each other up. By exchanging stories, insights, and strategies, we can build confidence, foster meaningful relationships, and open doors to new opportunities together. I'm super excited to introduce you to our special guest today, Pauleanna. Thank you so much for
Hi.
joining us. Hi. And for being part of this initiative. I'm confident that your story will motivate many women to embrace networking with more confidence. Please let us know more about you. Can you introduce yourself to our community?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Pauleanna Reid, and I am a millennial woman who has fought for her dreams and won. I did not take a traditional career path whatsoever, and I'm widely known for my work as a journalist. So I'm a senior reporter at Forbes.com, where I've been reporting freelance for about 8 years. But some of the most meaningful work that I do, actually don't get credit for. So what I'm known for as well is being a ghostwriter. So I'm a celebrity ghostwriter, and I help world leaders and doers who are shaping the future turn their stories into brand assets.
That's so cool and amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your intro. And I want to start right to the questions. So, when did you start networking and how has your perspective evolved from when you started until now?
When did I start networking? I started networking when I worked in corporate Canada. So for 10 years, I was an executive assistant in the corporate world, and my networking ability started there. I think college, I was still into partying and I was dating and I was just kind of letting loose. So I can't say that it started that early. But once I hit the corporate space, I knew that in order for me to ascend, in order for me to make more money, in order for me to have a title change, move departments, be liked, I had to bridge relationships. And so that what that looked like is, scheduling one-on-ones with the heads of different departments just so I can learn what their job entailed. That included scheduling peer-to-peer coffee chats. That included learning how to engage in small talk. That included raising my hand and volunteering for opportunities. So the corporate space is where it started. And then once I took my business more seriously and knew that eventually I wanted to exit, then I started networking in different cities. So I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and in Toronto, we have an opportunity desert. So there's a ceiling when it comes to your network, how much you can make, the opportunities presented to you. So you almost have to venture off into the US. And so I started networking in New York, then expanded to DC, LA, Atlanta, and now, I run a successful company full time, and 99% of my business is run in the States, mainly through referrals and word of mouth because of the seeds that I planted.
That's such an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing it. What was like the easiest part and the most difficult part of doing all that, like changing your focus in terms of cities, country, and stuff? What was like the easiest and the most difficult part?
Well, I think it's really important to understand that you have to have proximity to opportunity, right? And so there's a lot of people who simply don't step out of their hood, right? They don't step out of their community for whatever reason. They could be scared or lack of funds or whatnot. When I didn't have money to stay at hotels, I would sleep on friends' couches. When I didn't have money to stay at hotels, I would actually sleep on the airport floor, right? I would take a bird bath in the bathroom, change, and the next day I would have meetings from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I did that repeatedly for years. So for me, it was by any means necessary. I didn't make excuses. A lot of people don't necessarily want to grind it out. But at the time I was in my 20s, I was bright, and I was willing to do anything to make it out of corporate world. So I would say the easiest part was actually getting the meetings, because social media is such a brilliant connector. You can, easily connect with people based off mutual interests in the comments and the DMs. So getting the meetings in these various cities actually was very easy, because a million things can arise from a simple hello. And that's where it starts. But the hardest part, I would say, was those grueling years where I didn't have access to resources or like adequate shelter, because, I was just starting out my business, still growing it. And so I really had to just suck it up and, not lean into my excuses.
No, and I love that specific part that you said, like, like a million things can come up from a simple hello. That's so powerful and so true. Sometimes people feel like reaching out is kind of difficult, or if you don't know someone, reaching out is going to be seen as, something not as good as you want it to be seen. So I think that that part is really cool. And my next question is, what has been the most unexpected opportunity that an event or connection has brought to your life?
That's a great question. I will talk early, then I'll talk more recently. So when I was running around New York in those early years, I was in the lobby of a building and a gentleman walks in and it was just me and him. He was waiting for the elevator. I was waiting for a friend. So some awkward silence. And again, a million things can arise from a simple hello. So, he turned to me and he said, hey, he knew I wasn't a familiar face because I later learned that he owned the building. And he asked, in very New York style, what do you do? So I recited my elevator pitch. And this is the thing with elevator pitches, right? Depending on who you're talking to, the room you're in, and the objective of the conversation, you can use different elevator pitches accordingly. I want everyone to know that you don't always need one, and you don't only need to repeat one over and over. You can edit it accordingly because I wear multiple hats and I do many different things. So, I see a businessman in the lobby of a building. I, armed myself with the elevator pitch, leading with my ghostwriting career because he's the type of archetype that I would be interested in working with. And long story short, that simple conversation in the lobby led to my first 5-figure contract, right? And so so many lessons come from that, right? Simply not being afraid to talk to strangers, speaking up for yourself, advocating for yourself, being equipped with your elevator pitch, being confident. I'm sure it was my confidence that shone through, and following up, right? So a lot of people drop the ball when it comes to following up. I could have forgotten about him or been sloppy after the fact, but I followed up promptly. I scheduled the meeting and I made sure that we locked in that contract. Something more recently, honestly, just going to say social media is a great connector. And one of my goals this year is making new friends, right? And so oftentimes we scroll on social media and we'll double tap or we'll comment. But I've asked myself, what would happen if instead of double tapping and commenting, I sent them a personal note, a personal email, right?
Wow.
And I just said, hi, my name is Pauleanna, and just expressed my desire to make new friends. And it's been working out so beautifully. So many people have been just really open. And so instead of leaving a comment, I've been emailing them, sharing how I feel about their post or happy birthday or celebrating them, and then asking for time on Zoom. And so just as long as you're planting seeds, and again, some will just be a beautiful friendship, some may turn into a contract, wherever it leads, as long as you're planting seeds, only good things can come from it.
That's so cool, Pauleanna, because recently I've been uploading more content, so to speak, on TikTok and Instagram. Like I'm more established on LinkedIn, and now I'm figuring out like Instagram and TikTok, as I was saying. And everyone is like comment or follow or share, but slide into those DMs. Tell them that you found their content so helpful or that it helped you, and become this friend of this person or work consciously for your network in that term, because liking won't get you connections, like real connections, but DMing, saying hello, it's like more towards networking than towards like being part of the vanity metrics of that person.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that because I've been thinking on that lately, and thank you so much for bringing that up. And my next question is, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I would love to know, what is your elevator pitch?
I love it. My God, it's really, really right what you just said, that depending on who I'm talking to, it varies because I'm part of growing. I'm partner and marketing VP at the agency. We're women founded and women led. That makes us really, really proud. And then I also now creating content. I have the initiative Women Who Network. We started it to help women that are even starting to network or are more advanced to embrace networking with more confidence. So I have Growing and Women Who Network. I'm also a mom. And sometimes when you're talking about yourself, you lead with the professional stuff. But I think it's also important to establish a more personal background because, we already have in common that you are a mom and I'm a mom. You have a 4-month-old. I have a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And that is like an instant connection
Yeah.
that personal background gives you that sometimes the professional, it's more like,
Great.
and thank you so much for sharing that because at the beginning of the interview, my son walked in and we had to interrupt for a second. And Pauleanna said, "Don't worry, I have a 4-month-old." And then I remember what having a 4-month-old look like. And it was like, Pauleanna, I feel you. I see you in all different light. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here. And it's like something that connected us. So that would be kind of it. I normally
Great
lead
point.
with I normally lead with a personal type of connection and then I go into business most of the time. So thank you
Love
so much
it.
for the question, baby. And to finish it off, what advice would you give to women who are hesitant about getting involved in networking or who are already networking and are hesitant in how to move forward with it?
Okay, so if you're hesitant to get involved in networking, I would say you're cutting yourself off from beautiful opportunities and conversations. You're cutting yourself off from equipping and educating yourself with more knowledge and information and insight. Those of you who are networking and you're looking to get to the next level, my biggest tip is to stay organized. So let me give you an example. I have an Excel sheet, and every year I network with about 300 to 400 people, right? And this Excel sheet has, the basic. I'm an Excel girly. I love Excel, but you can use any CRM, right? So this sheet has all the basic information, including who's a high or low priority, who is a warm, cold, or hot lead. It includes their birthday, their address. It includes any notes. So I know the last time we spoke, I know what we spoke about. So let's say if their 4-year-old had a dance recital at school, I'll make a note so that the next time I follow up, I can personalize that note. So I would say don't keep your contacts in here, put it on paper, get organized. And there's always opportunity in the follow-up, right? Some people don't think that when I say 300 to 400 people, I'm not on that many Zooms necessarily a year. Some people some people are okay with just a text message check-in. Some people I just send a note with a subject line. Other people we jump on Zoom. Some people I meet quarterly. There are some of my biggest, most treasured relationships and we meet twice a year. So you have to determine the cadence of the relationship and the flow. And then with your most treasured relationships, I would say try to get as deep as possible. Taking things offline, having a physical, in-person, real-life experience that only you two can share.
Wow, thank you so much, baby. And thank you so much for the advanced tips, so to speak, because from the beginning of the initiative, I started doing it because of people that were just starting to network. But then I've received so many comments of people that go to these networking events. At the beginning, they're kind of nervous, but then they pull through and they've seen the content and said that the tips are pretty cool. So I wanted to change it a little bit. And this was my first time changing
Oh,
it
wonderful.
people that are more advanced. So this is also a testament of how improving everything is pretty cool and amazing and that you can always take it to the next level. So thank you so much, baby. And
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing your incredible insights with us. It's really inspiring to hear how networking has shaped your journey. Networking isn't just about introductions, it's about intention, consistency, and growth. Every conversation, every follow-up, and every shared opportunity brings us closer to our goals. Let's continue to support and empower each other because when women connect, we rise. Let's take the next step together. To all of you listening, reading, or watching, remember your network is your net worth. And stay tuned for more inspiring stories in our next edition of Women Who Network, Stories of Connection and Success. If you want to be part or propose someone for this space, please email me to angie@growing.com. Until next time, keep networking and growing. Thank you so much.